Hello, and welcome to the Mayfield Renewables NABCEP Continuing Education Conference recap. My name is Lucas Miller. I'm a Solar Plus Storage Engineering Coordinator with Mayfield Renewables, and I'm joined today by Justine Sanchez and Laurel Hamilton. I'll let them introduce themselves.
I am Justine Sanchez. I am the Solar Plus Storage Program Director for Mayfield Renewables, and happy to be here, Lucas.
Yep, and my name is Laurel Hamilton, and I am the Director of the Content Strategy and Production Services at Mayfield Renewables.
Great. Well, with that, let's get into it. So we attended the NABCEP conference earlier in August, along with a few more team members from Mayfield Renewables. We led a roundtable discussion. Justine led a 90-minute course. Our other coworker, Ryan Mayfield, led an all-day course. So we were quite involved, got to meet quite a few people from around the industry and talk about, what's the latest industry news that we're hearing from folks, what are some challenges and opportunities that they're seeing in their work. So I just really wanted to recap with you guys, what were some common threads that you heard in talking to people, common challenges that you saw, and kind of what the scuttlebutt was.
Yeah, this was a big effort for Mayfield Renewables this year. We were really excited to be a partner with NABCEP, really, and both deliver education, which we've done historically over many, many years. Ryan has been delivering the 8-hour NEC course since the beginning, so 10 years now. So we delivered 4 courses between a roundtable that Sarah Pavey presented on design topics, and a storage course that Justine delivered, and the NEC course with Ryan. And then we also co-presented a course with Mager, who was one of our partners. And then on top of the courses, we had a lot of conversations with our partners and clients and different entities in the industry. We had a videography crew there that was great. So we were able to capture these interviews, just trying to talk about the value proposition of these different entities in the industry and what they're doing right now. So we had a lot of really good conversations. In between those interviews, we also kind of went around and tried to grab some thought leadership. Just in general, we really just wanted to have a presence and talk to folks for the first time in a long time. We've been talking over Zoom for a year and a half plus, and it was just, we really wanted to enjoy those conversations and get what we can out of them, and help refine our services as well out of those conversations, and see what's going on in the industry. It's different when you're face to face. So it was a great experience overall.
I agree. And we had some fun conversations even with ourselves. We're in a new paradigm, a new space coming out of this pandemic, or we're not really out of it, sad to say, but things have changed a lot, and a lot of, climate change issues are really cropping up big time from every corner of our country and the world, really. And so things have shifted since the last time I feel like we all met face to face. And we spent a bit of time spinning our wheels on our thoughts about the future of the industry, the thoughts about everything really, when it comes to how we stem climate change, just bigger conversations. And then of course the little nitty gritty conversations about codes and standards and equipment and the industry at large. So it was really nice to have that time.
And were there any, specific challenges that you guys seem to hear more often than others from people? It sounds like storage in general is an issue that's top of mind, but were there any things in particular that you noticed that people seem to be struggling with more than others, or other areas of opportunity that you might have heard just from speaking with people around the conference?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of issues around supply chain that people talked about a lot, of course, which has been impacted by the pandemic and other global issues. And then there's also, like Justine's mentioning, in the last year and a half, things have just completely shifted around storage. And some of that is also around the different climate events everyone's experiencing. And we're not really seeing any slowdown of those trends. We're on the hockey stick going up in terms of trends for demand, both for solar and solar plus storage. And the storage side is just, the demands are huge, and people are trying to figure out how to meet them and how to understand the system so that they're safe. yeah, there's a lot of challenges with the industry right now, and people are trying to step up and trying to figure out how best to meet them. And, we have an existential crisis on our hands, really, and the timeline is getting shorter and shorter. And so we're just trying to meet the crisis where it's at day to day and get ahead of it.
Yeah, I would say the conversation's definitely, and I might just have an ear for this as well, but resiliency is obviously a big market that the industry is going to be going after. I mean, we have to. That's the demand for backup power because of all these events is huge. But at the same time, we still have those, financial potential, aspects of the energy storage industry that we can tackle as well. So we can shave, our peak demand pricing from our utility bill at the same time as providing a backup power source for when things happen and we need backup power. And so it seems that a couple of years ago, it was all about, how can we just get these financial benefits out of an energy storage battery bank, to the conversation shifting around backup. And it's a whole other slew of codes and installation and design criteria that we have that's much more complex than just providing peak shaving services through our energy storage systems. So there was questions within folks that we consider experts that are still trying to wrap their heads around some of these issues as well. So it's an exciting time to me in the industry.
Right. And I think that trend even stretched to just the courses that were available this year. It seemed that quite a number of them were either solely focused on storage or on that interconnection between storage and PV. One of those being actually led by Justine. You led a session on, I believe it was Wednesday of the conference, on NEC 2017 and 2020, as well as fire codes for energy storage. That course was more or less a preview of other courses that you've developed through Mayfield. So just if you could maybe give us a little bit more info, I guess, on what those longer form courses might look like, why you decided to develop them, and how people can find out more about them.
Yeah, so I'll start with why we decided to develop them. In our own solar plus storage work, what we've realized is not only is there new equipment we're trying to get used to, but there's a whole new set of codes and standards that apply to that energy storage equipment. Not only the NEC 2017, 2020, and those specific requirements for energy storage systems beyond 690 and 705, but also fire code and NFPA 855, which is the standard for installation of energy storage systems. And so along with other items such as UL 9540 and UL 9548 testing, the International Fire Code, the International Residential Code, there's just all kinds of work happening at the same time as new equipment is being developed. And folks are just trying to wrap their heads around, where do I go for the requirements to even get my permit, to get on, to put into our plan sets, to get our permits to do the job. And that's a big question mark for a lot of people. Just the NEC alone, you find yourself flipping through, should I go to this chapter or this chapter or this section or that section? And where do our systems, where do we have to apply the code to different parts of my system? And so that was one motivation for us developing our particular class on the NEC and energy storage systems. But then there's a whole nother body of work when it comes to fire code and building code, when it comes to installing energy storage systems and why those are so important. And then the testing process for the equipment and why that's a factor, because it is a very dynamic space. And there has been some issues with lithium-ion batteries banks, having problems with thermal runaway and so on, that designers and installers need to be super cognizant of and plan for, essentially, and find out why these codes are important and how do I apply them.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. And that's something that we've seen quite a bit, is just like you had mentioned, that technology and even demand nowadays is really outpacing the industry itself, especially from a codes perspective, but also just from a knowledge gap that exists within our industry, that these things are so new, they're moving so quickly, it's really hard to keep up. Yeah. And I think that was a big part of the impetus to develop these courses, and really just, our educational kind of goals in general. And that spreads beyond just educating groups. We also have noticed a need coming from contractors. So we work with quite a few contractors, developers, and EPCs around the country for just system design and engineering support. And through that work, we've been noticing a lot of just common questions coming in from these folks regarding storage, especially. So with that, we started rolling out this new kind of consultation setup. I'll let Laurel maybe describe this one in a bit more detail.
Yeah, so our consulting product is really just a retainer-based way that we can be providing support to different folks in the industry. Again, we've been working with contractors on the design side for over a decade. And, we have conversations with people all the time, and just more recently started to have more in-depth conversations about how we can support them. And basically had one conversation with a contractor several months ago around, they were just wanting to have Ryan Mayfield's ear. How could they have a phone a friend kind of relationship with Mayfield Renewables? Because we've been working in the space for a long time with Justine Sanchez and all of the research that she's been doing around storage code. We just have a wealth of knowledge on our team, and how can we best deliver it to folks? And so we developed a way just to have a simple retainer-based hourly consulting contract where contractors or other entities in the industry, manufacturers, et cetera, can have a project or question, and they can present it to us, and we can prepare and provide feedback in a number of different ways, whether it's written or over the phone or to a whole team.
And I guess the one thing I would add to that is because Ryan and myself have been in the industry a long time, we have quite a network of folks that we can tap, and we do tap for our own needs, but also just the larger body of the industry, all these friends and acquaintances we've made over many decades of this type of work. I started way back in the mid 90s when actually solar plus storage was the only thing that we did have, but the equipment was different. It's just lead acid batteries, maybe NiCad batteries, slightly different inverters, and a different kind of use case scenario. So this isn't new work for myself when I start talking about energy storage, but lithium ion battery banks definitely are new. And so we have spent a lot of time in the last couple of years getting our heads wrapped around the intimate details of those types of batteries and the codes and standards that apply to those. And then on Ryan's side, we do day in and day out design plan sets for commercial scale projects, with our own design team. So we are on a daily basis working with the same problems and have the same questions that all the other folks in the industry are coming up against, that are putting out the designs and constructing these, commercial scale, residential scale, even, utility scale, solar plus solar, and just solar plus storage systems as well. So we're in the thick of it with everyone else.
Great. Well, I think that's a good note to close this on. NABCEP was frankly just a great opportunity to see people in person again, but also a reminder of how fast things are changing, how many new things are coming that aren't even here yet, and how we all need to be prepared. And educational opportunities like NABCEP are going to be a big factor in how we handle that change in the next year to next 5 years. And I think we have a great staff here working to help close that knowledge gap and help get people as informed as they can be as quickly as possible. So with that, we'll leave you with some contact information on this slide. If you do want to get in touch with us about scheduling either a workshop for a private group or some sort of consulting around ESS projects that you're struggling with, you can reach us at this phone number, email, as well as on our website, and we'd be happy to help. And thanks for tuning in.